So I thought I had a clog in the extruder here. Come to find out I didn't. But I want to change out the nozzle anyway, so it's not that much more to take the extruder out in case you do have a clog and want to figure out how to fix that. So first, power off the machine. You don't want to short anything out. So flip power off and then take your front tool head cover off. And that's just this one little wire here. And set that aside. And then you're gonna take the hot end fan wire out, as well as the hot end heating element. Make sure you get that out of the way. And then you just have two small screws right here and here. And those are for your hot end. So I wanted to swap from a 0.4 to a 0.2 millimeter hot end anyway. So we'll just take this whole thing apart so you can see how to do it. So it's these two screws here that are holding in the hot end itself. And then once you have the hot end wire and the hot end fan wire disconnected, you should be able to just pull this straight down and it comes out. Alright, so now that the hot end's out of the way, we're gonna get to the extruder, and that's really just 3 bolts. So the first thing you need to do is loosen up the cutter head, and you don't want to remove this bolt. You just want to loosen it enough that the cutter head gets out of the way. So once that's out of the way, that gives you access to this bolt right here. So we're gonna remove that one. One right here, right under the hot end plug-in. And one right here to the left of where your PTFE tube plugs in. So before you remove it, disconnect this wire right here, this bottom silver one, and it just pops off like that. And then you should be able to just pull this out. And there is your extruder. So if I did have a clog, this wouldn't spin freely, and I'd probably find some debris. I don't know if you can see it in there. Somewhere between here, that little hole there, and right here. And if you needed it to get into that, you remove these 4 bolts. So same nut driver or hex key. take this cover off. And so that's the internals of the extruder. The last step before, if you wanted to actually take the extruder out, so you need to loosen up this bolt on the side that's pushing this little gear up against the extruder gear. So to do that, you just loosen this bolt. And again, you don't have to take it out. Just loosen it and decompress that spring. And once that's decompressed, you can see that this is kind of freely moving. And then you can pull that out. So if I did have a clog, I would see it coming through this path right here. And I've had some times where the filament actually heats up and can't come between either of these areas. So you can't push it through, you can't pull it out. But if you're able to access it from here, you can cut it from right there and then pull it out both ways. Another reason this is useful is if you wanted to upgrade your extruder to like an all metal, like I did on my other one, it's really easy. So as long as you have the right part, it's a super easy upgrade. So let's put it back together, just do it in reverse. So we'll recompress this spring. Put our cover back on. If you get confused about how this cover goes on, this bearing is covered right there on that, and then this piece here goes in to this hole here. And then everything lines back up. The first time I took this apart, it was embarrassing how long it took me to figure out how to line it back up. I can't explain why, but it did. So hopefully that saves someone that. And like most things, I would do these in a star pattern. So do corner to corner, and then don't over tighten until you have all four like 70%. So now that they're all somewhat snug, you can go back around and fully snug them up. Alright, so this plugs in, so this piece here actually is what corresponds to this little gear here. And so you just put that right back over it. It really only fits one way anyway. So that's in place. Now put back your three other little screws. Remember you have one right under the Hotend plug-in. And Another right behind the cutter head. And then finally one to the left of the infeed. And go back around, make sure they're tight. Cutterhead back up. Another thing to watch out for is this can move around, so make sure it actually goes back into that little slot. And then snug this screw up. Make sure you're holding the cutter head here so it's in place. Otherwise you'll end up screwing this little bolt into a piece of plastic that you don't really want to screw into. So now that's back in, and this wire lines up almost perfectly with where it's supposed to go already, so just don't force it, but make sure to push that back in. Now your extruder's put back together. And to finish it off, I'm going to put the hot end back. And then stick it back in. So from the internal standpoint, that's really all you have to do, aside from pushing this back where it goes, and then installing your tool head. But if you have a BambuLab, I'm sure this thing has come off mid-print and you've reinstalled it a few times by now. So just plug that back in where it goes. And then line up the magnets, and there you go. So the last step, if you did change out the diameter of your hot end, if you're not familiar why you would do that, I'm printing something that's very, I guess, small, and you can't see any of the writing on this. This was done with a 0.4, and a 0.2 will actually give me something that's legible. You don't have to do this specific for the extruder, but if you're changing out your hot end, you can come back into the settings. Scroll down here, go down to the second page and go to accessories and change this to the 0.2 stainless steel, or I mean if you went bigger, 0.6, 0.8, but I put a 0.2. So that's going to tell the machine how big, diameter you're going to be using. And that's it.